Hello and welcome to Survive the Unexpected with your host Frank Pacino and my partners in crime, Amanda Bryant and James Hansen. And we're here to talk about Survivor Marquesas episode 5 through 8. Um, and this is definitely where the season starts to pick up towards the end of the these episode blocks. I quite enjoyed these episodes. I don't know if you guys did or not, but I really enjoyed it, and we get seen a lot of gameplay, which was big at the time for this point in Survivor history.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
so
think Rob
I'll,
felt that.
I'll say I think 5 and 6 were a little predictable, but once we got to the merge 7 and 8, we saw some more like new school gameplay that we had never seen before. So very
Even
very interesting. Yeah,
even 5, even though it was a predictable outcome, it still was a big thing to happen in the game because it's
yeah.
still a member of the original tribe when they had the numbers be voted out, and that's only happened in Australian Outback, and that was in the merge time, not a swap time because they haven't swap yet. So I think this is the first time in swap where someone had the majority in the swap and they still got voted out.
I think this is the first time we really saw someone think like they think in modern Survivor. Like it wasn't really till the eighth episode, till the John boot, maybe the Hunter boot, which we already talked about, where they were more modern Survivor playing. But this season was the first season we saw people like voting people out very like strategically rather than just who they liked and who thought was good for their tribe. And
Mm.
yeah, so I thought it was very interesting, and that's why I really like this season. So I think it changed the game a little bit.
It definitely did, and it's you can tell they're starting to enjoy the game part of it because like we have the first seasons of just strictly survival. I mean, that was over half the season. This season, it's been barely any of that. I haven't really seen them struggle. They've been fine feeding themselves. The weather's been beautiful. I mean, they're having it fine. I feel like it's not a Survivor pointed season anymore. Now they're starting to the producers are starting to pick up on gameplay is what sells ratings right now.
Yeah, I think Africa kind of leaned towards more of the gameplay than survival as well, but you still had a good, healthy portion of the survival aspect. Here, they seem like they have a lot of resources for food, like a lot of
Oh
fruit
yeah,
areas, a lot
Yeah,
of areas to get crab
crab.
pretty easily, um,
Mhm.
and of course, the rewards. So I feel like there has a lot of resources for the island. I think the worst part is the heat and the bugs with the
the
Yeah.
island.
bug. We
Oh,
talked
the
about this in the
bugs,
first
man.
episode, but like
Yeah,
they were slammed with the bugs. Like
yeah,
their bodies
Bad.
just were destroyed. But
yeah.
I mean, like you said, other than that, I think that they're getting fed a little more here and more like Borneo, which is a beach season. They're not as much focusing on the elements like they were in Australian Outback and in Africa. So
Right.
yeah,
So we start episode 5 with Rob trying to grill everybody from the swap. It just
God.
he is him throughout every time he plays.
Every
Uh,
time.
every time he plays, even his very first time, he's very direct and very in your face about where he stands in the tribe, how it's gonna happen, what's gonna happen, and he asks around and tries to find a weak link instead of just trying to like get in the vibes with everybody. He just like jumps right in and be like, I want to be here, let me in. He's just everyone's face, and
He's
it's
very clicky. He likes having his people and being able to tell his people what to do and making sure that the people who are not with him know that they are not with him. At least
So
that's what it seems like to
do,
me.
do you all think that the Boston Rob 1.0 is much different from the Boston Rob that won in Redemption Island, or you think he's pretty much trying to play the same game just with different people?
I
I think
think
he
he's
perfected that style of game by
Yeah,
playing it over and over and
and
over again.
like
he had
I
the right
think
cast.
in this
Yeah.
season, obviously it didn't work well for him because his original tribe just lost so much. He could
Hmm.
never get his numbers, even though he pretty much controlled that whole original tribe he was on. But once the swap happened, he was on the bottom, and then once he merged, like he's gonna be one of the first one voted out. But like Rob tried, but he basically did the same thing he did when he succeeded. It just didn't work this time around because he just
No.
didn't have the numbers to do it.
It didn't help that Maramu was kind of like a lovey-dovey tribe. They're like, we're
Yeah,
family and we'll stick this together. And they never really had to go to tribal, so they didn't know what it was like to vote somebody out and
yeah, and
actually
like
play the game.
his original tribe was not like that, and he was pretty much like the strategic one, controlling the votes until he got swapped, and he was on the downside of the numbers. And then at that point, it's like, all right, well, you got a very much an uphill battle from here, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So Gabriel was mad annoying this episode.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
He definitely signed up for the wrong show. He basically
I
said, I'm
liked
not
him
here
in
to
the
play the
beginning,
game.
but it steadily did not as
He was
time
a
went on.
he was a good character, and I thought like he could have been
Yeah.
interesting, and then he just like tossed his game in the bag. He just said like he literally said he didn't care about like the game at all. So
No,
obviously, someone saying that like
get rid of him.
get rid of him,
Yeah.
yeah, but like I mean,
Rob
in
even
on
pulled him
if
aside
Rob
and was like,
and
"Hey, like let's do this. Like
if
let's vote this
Rob
way
and
because if
Sean
not,
and
you're gonna go
Giuseppe
over it."
are hearing that too, they're like, okay, like
Yeah.
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 fine with me, yeah.
He literally John literally goes up to him in his face and is like, hey, we're all together, right? He's like, I'm not here to do this. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I'm not here to play the game. He's like, yeah, you are. He's like, no, I'm not. He's like, I'm here to make the society that we did. Da da da. It's like he's like, well, you're gonna play the game your way. He's like, no, I'm not
For
playing
$1
the
million,
game.
bro.
It's
For $1
like,
million.
oh my goodness. He's somebody who deserves to never come back with that attitude
Oh,
like that.
yeah, I mean,
He's probably listed as one of the worst players ever. He has to be.
it's up there, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Especially with these earlier on seasons. Like
Mhm.
there's some bad players.
Very, very
Very
bad.
bad players. But he's one of the worst ones. Was it Brandon last season in Africa who voted
Yeah.
Oh,
the wrong
yeah,
way
he
and
was.
instantly got voted out? He was a terrible. The
Yeah.
thing is, he had potential to be a good player, and he ended up making stupid decisions.
Stupid decisions, all because of like friendship that I guarantee he doesn't talk to any of these people anymore.
Yeah. This episode, Mamoru finds a bunch of crab. They had a big feast. Which is just it's huge when it's just was it 4 of them on that 5 of them on that tribe.
I think it was only no, it was
At one
5 at that point, yeah.
5 at that point, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so it was big value there. And they're like, man, this is great. We got fruit over here. We're finding crab. There's less people to feed. So they're living the dream. We get to the reward challenge, and so what was the reward challenge was gather the blocks
Yeah.
and blindfolded, and then you have to make the puzzle once you gather all the blocks, and you have a person leading them. They've done this challenge a lot. I personally like this challenge. It's fun.
Yeah.
Great teamwork.
Yeah.
And Gabriel shit the bed because he missed a block and didn't tell his teammates get it. So
He was
Rochi,
very like vocal in the challenge too. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
like that's the thing. Gabriel wasn't a player really, but the challenges he was very like he was pretty good. I mean, like he was very helpful. He was helpful around camp. He just told them like I'm not really here to play the game, and like once you tell someone that, you're like, all right, like
right.
are we in
And the
It's a
thing
good
is,
example of
around?
how someone can have a good game physically and maybe camp life wise, but if you're not there socially, you can't make it far.
Yeah,
You have to
and his social game
people
was shit. Yeah,
play.
yeah,
Yeah, that's why everyone else is there. So if you're not there for the same reasons they are, they're not going to want to work with you because you don't have the same end goal.
right. So they when they get to raid the other tribe's camp, which is huge.
I love that.
Yeah,
I
and
love that. I love that
they steal a
reward.
lot from them, like a
They
lot.
do.
All their pillows, their blankets, almost all their cooking utensils, um, all kinds of stuff.
so bad.
Yeah, especially because they haven't lost a challenge. This is the first challenge they lost, so it was tough for them. But by winning that challenge, they kind of won the next challenge, the immunity challenge, because it was like the SOS sign, and because they had all the materials to make big signs and stuff like that, they had an advantage, and they ended up winning the immunity challenge too. So Rotu's gonna have to go to tribal. Another thing Gabriel did, he literally was like hanging out with Rob and them a lot,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah. Like so,
Yes.
isolated
John
himself.
John and his alliance weren't really sure if he was really with them, so they're like, "This guy's a liability." I guess John got paranoid, thought it might have been him. So I mean,
Yeah.
it made their decision a little easier because they could always get rid of Rob and Sean and Resepia like next. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So and Rob, so John makes a huge mistake going to Rob and Sean and tell him, "Hey, you guys don't worry, it's gonna be Gabriel."
Yeah.
I think it was before the immunity challenge even.
yeah,
And so they were like, "All right." And Rob's like, "Wait a minute, why don't we just go pitch to Gabriel? Me,
Try to get him
Vesepia,
over or
Sean,
something.
yeah,
and him vote together. It'll be a tie vote." And he goes and
Gabe.
tells Gabriel that, and he just doesn't care. He
yeah.
is
He like pulls him in the tent and like explains it to him and everything. Like, hey, dude, like this is what's going on. If you come vote with us, though, you'd be good. And he's like,
Yeah. So if we get to tribal, it's Abdul tribal is unanimous vote to Gabriel. He voted for Rob,
Yeah, it's boring. Yeah,
which was a terrible move. He literally had a way out, and he didn't take it.
Yep.
So
bad player. All we gotta say.
bad player,
yeah,
bad player.
yeah. So that ends episode 5. We start with 6, and Marquesas. The Road to 4 on the original Road to still make a Final Four. They make a pack. And pretty much all of it comes from John. John tells everybody what's going on, explain it
Yeah.
to us,
So
the viewers, and nobody else because
so
really a screen time about it.
we hardly ever hear Zoe, Tammy, or Rob the general like
General,
perspective.
yeah,
Like it's all John basically. So
Yeah.
at that point,
Takes a
like
lot of
even
screen
by
time
making
during these
you watch it,
episodes.
it makes you wonder like how far is this group really gonna go, or like this guy like just digging his own grave because he's just playing too aggressively, and
Right.
that's what ended up happening. But yeah,
yeah. It's
besides John though, that was a boring group. I think the other three, like
very
I
dull.
like this season a lot, but I'm Tammy, Zoe,
That's
and like the
wonderful.
general. Like I don't get anything out of them three.
No, to be honest with you, I forget his name's the General. If it wasn't a
He's
unique
he's
name,
like one of the most forgettable people,
yeah,
like to me.
yeah. Um, but Rob is very suspicious of Vesepia because she's kissing a lot of butt, I guess. But like, I mean, that's what you got to do in this sort of situation. So I don't know why she's upset. I mean, wouldn't you guys do the same thing?
I would, but she also like very much distanced herself from Sean and Rob at that point, and I guess that could rub like someone like Rob the wrong way, who's like such an alpha. But yeah, I mean, I would do the same thing. If I'm on the bottom, I'm trying to get myself in with majority just to see some cracks and get myself in the game longer. Yeah, of course.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think it's a mistake to try to benefit your position in the game.
No,
Um, because like Rob and Sean were very aggressive at the camp and at tribe. So yeah, she's seen the writing on the wall and knew those guys were a sinking ship. It was only a matter of time.
exactly.
Uh, so we get to the reward. It's a relay race, and Rotu loses again. This is 3 in a
Again,
row.
again.
It's crazy because they're the bigger tribe, so you think
And they have the like
male
quote unquote,
vantage.
like alpha is
Yeah,
like the only other male on the other tribe is Pascal, who's like fucking like 60 years old. So
yeah, the
like,
oldest person on the cast.
yeah,
So it's a Rob's a little critical of everybody about their challenge performance.
rightfully so too, I
Yeah,
guess. But
yeah.
yeah,
I don't blame him. I'd be a little upset too. Uh, but Amanda, do you think Vesepia made the right move trying to kiss some butt, going to the other tribe and distance yourself from Rob and
Oh
Sean?
yeah. Every game there's always some ass kissing involved. You
you
have
have
to.
to.
You have to ass kiss the other side because when they sit together, and talk and say, hey, who are we gonna go after the other side next? In their subconscious mind, if you're always nice to them, ask us it, letting them know that you're always willing to work with them. They're gonna be more willing to keep you around than the other ones that are openly opposed against them. I think that's how it was in a way.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think it's why Vecepia ends up being a very underrated winner because she was on the bottom for a little while, but instead of like a Rob or a Sean who were like too outspoken, who were gonna be targets, like just
She
were
definitely laid
not
low.
willing to like kiss people's asses. She was, and she found the right cracks and slid herself a majority and ends up winning the game because of I think Vecepia is a pretty like solid winner. I wouldn't say
Yeah.
she's like one of the best, but definitely a very solid winner.
I think that she does a good job of knowing what's going on and knowing when to avoid it.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. She knows how to withdraw herself from drama and situations to keep her name out and let everyone else go after each other. It reminds me, there's a lot of, not only a lot, but there's a few winners that have a game like that. Let them fight it out. I'm just gonna sit back and let the dust settle and then move. Sandra's like that. I would say Chris D's like that.
Yeah.
I would say,
there's not too many like that.
Jeremy a little bit. He wasn't.
He was more like a meat shield. Yeah, but
he wasn't. He wasn't a shit stirrer in a sense.
No. But Sandra kind of was a shit stirrer, but she also like more than Vecepia, but she played more like the Vecepia strategy, I would say.
Yeah. I would say Vecepia is never the person that's in the driver's seat, but she's always in the vehicle.
She knows what she knew it was happening.
She's never left outside the vehicle. She's always in the car, but she's never driving. But that's not necessarily a terrible thing yet most of the time.
Right.
John's not even upset they lost. He's like, the food would have made me bad, and everybody's like, "What? You're crazy, man." Pascal
he shut up about it. He kept going on and on, and they're like, "Come on, dude! Like, we don't want to. We already talk about food 3-4 times out here."
Yeah, Pascal was cracking me up when he was so upset. Like, he just lost one of his children when he found that Gabe got voted out. He's like, he was such a nice guy. He had a note from him. He wrote him a note, and he read the note a few times. A poem. That's what.
A poem.
I laughed a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
So funny.
You thought that man would have died. That's what happened. That man passed away after he got voted out. He went to the heavens.
Really liked Gabe, yeah.
This is one of my favorite parts of this episode. This is probably my favorite part of this episode. Rob goes to Zoe and goes, "So you guys got an alliance, right?" And she's like, "There's no alliance." They're arguing. There's no alliance. And then he goes to John and he's like, "So you guys got an alliance, right?" He's like, "Well, yeah, it's obvious, right?" He's like, "Well, Zoe just told me 5 minutes ago that there's no alliance."
There's no alliance.
So what the hell's going on, John? Tell me.
I love it. I'm so here for it.
Man, that was my favorite part. It made me laugh.
Dude, that's just so Rob, though, and like I don't want to we're gonna be talking about Rob our entire podcast.
Yeah.
Lifespan. But it's just so funny, like you said, like to see him play like he always does. He's so like brutally honest, so in your face, so openly opposing. You just don't see a lot of players like that. I can understand rewatching Marquesas. I can understand why people like Rob as a player. He's not my cup of tea, but I can understand why other people are drawn to him. I can understand why he came back for All Stars.
So,
for sure.
I was pretty drawn to him. Was really young when I watched this, but I mean, I think clearly what we see from him, maybe not his gameplay, but at least as a character, he's worthy of bringing back for All Stars.
I feel like the vote of Hunter is what brought him back for All Stars because it was such a
his dominance of the swap tribe is what brought him back.
Right.
And the fact that they just lost so much, it's like, all right, well, what if we had seen this guy where his tribe dominated? He had the numbers the whole game. He could have won his first time around.
Yeah.
Whereas he just didn't have that opportunity. And I mean, it did, will you guys agree? It did help him in All Stars because there were so many threats. Like there was all the winners and then people who almost won, like Rob's sister Nina, who didn't. So Rob, especially on the starting tribe he was on, he was never really like the threat, but that helped him a lot. But I also think he was worthy of bringing back for All Stars.
Yeah. So there's a okay. This wouldn't be made it into the show nowadays, but Rob was like, "So John, just tell me one thing. You're gay, right?
Are you gay? Yeah.
Are you gay?" He's like,
Dude,
"Thanks for
Frank
outing me in front."
was like, "Hey, are you watching the episodes?" And I literally sent him a picture of that moment. I was like, "Yeah, I'm watching. This is the moment I'm at."
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
and very aggressive and rude about it.
Very not even aggressive, like passive aggressive comment.
Yeah,
And John even said that he very like passive aggressively asked me if I was gay, and like I said like yeah dude, like even though he already had that confessional saying thought John was a big time queer, what he literally said, which was
yeah.
like if that, like let's just show like 2002, like that shit that shit would not fly today. Like Rob would have been canceled. Like
Yeah,
We
it's
just had an episode on 42 about how, you know, two black women were put their idols because they didn't want another black person in the jury. Like,
yeah,
you know, and then we go back all the way to
was
season 4. Rob, probably one of the biggest players ever on Survivor, just shouts, clear out.
maybe I will say maybe obviously all of us we know Survivor well enough. He's not the best player ever. He may be top 10, but definitely not the best. But he might be the most well known.
I didn't say he was great. I said he was recognizable.
That's what I'm saying. He might be the most well known like Survivor player.
Well known Survivor player among
casual like family.
I personally think the most recognizable Survivor ever is Rupert. Any casual person is gonna see him with his beard and his tie dye and know, oh yeah, that's a guy from Survivor. Like, but you can't say that about any other Survivor contestant. Even Sandra and Rob cannot show a picture of them to a common person that maybe watched Survivor back in the day. Like but they know who Rupert is. You know what I mean?
So my
like
mom's family and dad's family, who some of them don't watch Survivor, like they know how much I like it, and they asked me like recently when they heard like I do like play orgs like a Survivor podcast. They're like, "Oh, does Rupert still play?" And I'm like that's what I'm saying. Like they know who Rupert is.
They know who Rupert is. I'm telling you, people watching might disagree, but I still to this day think that Rupert, Richard Hatch, Rob, Sandra, and Russell are the top 5 most recognizable.
But I'm saying they do really Boston. It still might be Boston Rob, because like my boss, like he knows my Survivor, that I'm like big Survivor guy too, and he's like, oh yeah, like I remember Boston Rob. That's about it. Like he says stuff like that. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, remember too that Boston Rob and Amber had their wedding broadcasted on CBS. Like I watched it live when I was 13.
And the amazing race too.
Yeah, Rupert did the Amazing Race too.
Yep. So did Rachel and Brendan.
Yeah. So, anyways, the immunity challenge is a big maze. It's a big maze. It's pretty. They race through a maze. It was fine. They're all tied together. They have to race through a maze, and Road 2 finally wins a challenge and avoids going to tribal again. And so we get to the camp, and Gina's it's like lost.
No clue. Like it was so obviously gonna be her, and she doesn't seem to think like how obvious the vote is on her. But
she's like, I don't think they're gonna vote me out because I was on the original tribe.
But there's like the edit is not showing us that there's no crack. Like she's getting voted out.
Right. So it's her. That's all she wrote for her. 3-1. She voted for Kathy.
I love Kathy.
Same.
Yeah.
I can understand why being on an island with her for 39 days would be annoying, but I still like her as a game player.
I would totally I would align with her. I think she would be a great alliance member. I don't know.
Was she an option for second chances?
She played All Stars.
Oh yeah, that's right. She did fail.
But like, I think she could have like
I forgot she
she's
was on
someone who
stage.
could have returned for a third time, and no one would have
Oh,
really.
for sure.
She could have been a hero on Heroes Villains. I
She
think.
might have turned it down a third time too after All Star season.
I'm not sure because I've seen like the list of people who turned down. I don't remember
Right.
seeing her, but she could have though. It could not be totally accurate, but yeah, I love Kathy.
Yeah, I think she's great. She's definitely stands out. I feel like some of this cast is really bad, but the good
She's an
people
infectious personality for sure.
Yeah,
stand
so
out.
I'm Frank. Like this is where I'm confused on it. Like, so I really like this season, and I really like a handful of the cast members, but there's a lot of like duds still. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
there's a
Like,
lot of duds.
so like, what do you think? Like the general,
The general's
dud,
bad. Gina was kind of bad.
Tammy,
Tammy Hunter was pretty
Hunter,
unforgettable.
Zoe,
Yeah.
Gabriel,
Zoe.
Zoe.
There's a handful, yeah. So like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a bit.
this cast has their hits, but like the cast in general isn't great. But
Even
I will still say out of the first 4 seasons, I like this one.
even Pascal doesn't want to play the game
No,
throughout the season.
and
So
even Aaliyah, I guess, even too. But
yeah, like we see them step up a little bit in these next coming episodes, but other than that, you don't get much from them up to this point for sure. So let's get to episode 7. Yeah. So Rob is just fed up with Vesepia. He calls her fake because he's going around like kissing them. Good morning,
Yes,
da
yeah.
da da. And it's just people are pissed about it, or at least Rob and Sean is. But everybody else is all about it, but not Rob and Sean. But like you said, they get the tree mail, so one person got to go from each tribe. They don't say what they're going for. Rob volunteers, which I don't blame him one bit. I would volunteer too. And Kathy volunteers for the other tribe. So they meet up. They have to come
it's
up with
interesting, yeah.
they have to come up with a name. They get to have dinner, and they get to
Paint the
have
flag.
what?
They paint the flag
They paint
too.
the flag, and they get to like sleep under a net. And it was funny. They started eating, and Kathy was like, "I heard a lot about you," and then Rob's like, "I heard a lot about you." I don't know why. I don't know why. I just stuck in my head, but the and then laughing while they're talking about this made me laugh.
I think Kathy had a little like young man crush on Boston Rob at that point.
he literally said in his confessional, "I see her as another Sarah."
It was just fucking weird. Yeah. That's how Rob is approaching every alliance at that point. It's like, what woman wants to fuck me that I'm gonna like bring in with me?
Right. So they
Other conversation that wouldn't fly. Let me just throw that out there.
Yeah. But yeah.
Rob makes a pitch and says, "Hey, they're gonna vote you out. They wanted to vote you out." Da, da, da. And Kathy was just like, "Oh my god, what? I thought I was tight with everybody." And he's like, "No, that's not the case." And she's like freaking out. And Rob's like, "I'll go with you all the way to the end," and made this huge pitch to her. And she is very she didn't know what to do. She's very lost for words. She got caught off guard. And she's like, "Zoe, I love Zoe." Yeah.
Zoe.
So another fun thing is that then they go to bed. They share a bed, and she's like, "Oh, we're sleeping under the bug net." She's like, "I'm sleeping with no pants on." Jumps in bed with Rob with no pants on, just some undies.
I was like, all right.
Yeah.
This is Rob's second because he liked another girl in the beginning. He liked Sarah in the beginning,
Sarah, yeah.
and then now he's
Now
about
he's got
Zoe.
a like 45-year-old woman.
Obviously, I don't think anything happened, but
yeah, nothing happened.
they do talk about John being untrustworthy and things like that, and
Yeah, no. So Rob, this is all right. What I'll say. Rob spilled the tea here. He told Kathy everything he believed to be going on, and it was completely true. He said, like John, Tammy, Zoe, the general, they all have an alliance, and they're trying to bring me, Sean, and V in to vote out your like last tribe, which is Kathy, Pascal, and Malia. So he wasn't totally like bullshitting on that. Like that was like a good pitch for Rob. I think if it wasn't totally true, it was the right pitch for him.
yeah, I agree. He definitely I mean, he really didn't have many options.
No, he had to do something.
Mm-hmm. And he knew.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have to go to Ramu's camp and pack everything up in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and Rob went with Kathy for that too, right?
Right.
Mhm.
And then they got it done, and that's when Rob introduced himself to Nalia and Pascal. They get to the Rotu camp and they're all celebrating. It's a merge. Yay. Ooh, merge. Kat Kathy talks to Zoe right away and she denies everything. Denies everything. It's not
Fucking
happening.
Zoe.
It didn't happen.
Like she does nothing for me. Like Tammy, even like Tammy's all right at least, but Zoe's just like the
So
biggest.
bland.
Just yeah, she's annoying. Not a good player. Like
No.
I was so glad to see her.
There's a reason why they didn't give her a ton of confessionals or airtime.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't even know if I remember one of hers.
I don't.
Before.
Yeah. No.
I forget she's playing half the time.
Yeah. The first immunity challenge is interesting. They all stand on these water boards.
The like balancing water on like a raft, like a wooden like raft, basically, right?
Yeah, and you can't touch the raft or you're out. And Rob's a big idiot. He knows he's in trouble, and instead of just balancing, he was doing a pretty good job. He starts splashing everybody, and then when he does that, he actually touches the board and he's eliminated.
Rob's ego, man.
Kathy ended up winning.
That's
She
our
said,
guy.
"Yeah, Kathy ended up winning." She said before the challenge that she needed to win immunity. Everyone's lying to her.
So let's like revisit that. Do you guys think Kathy needed to win, or you think Rob would have went home either way?
I think Rob was going home regardless.
I think so
so
too. I think the edit led on that Kathy needed to win, but I think Rob or Sean was the goner of that tribal, whether it was just who they decided. Like
Rob and Sean were going on about duos in the game, but they were the most obvious duo in the game.
Yeah,
100%. The merge would have been stupid not to go after them first.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is what it is. There's nothing really you can do. Rob goes talks to John, and Sean does too. He's like, "We're sticking to the original plan, right?" And then John's like, "No." He's like, "You've been running around talking shit left and right, telling everybody everything. Why would we stick to our word?" And Sean's like, "You gave us a word, man." Got all his face and was all pissed. And Rob was all in his face, "Man, you give me your word," like all pissed. And it's like you guys were throwing us under the bus left and right. Why would we save you guys?
No, like I don't like John. I think he was a cocky ass, but I think that they like definitely like Rob and Sean were pretty much playing it like desperate. Like we see what happens the next vote, which was karma was coming for John, but like I mean at that point though, like Sean and Rob didn't play it very well.
No, they played it awful. Telling somebody like Kathy, which I understand you need to talk to her, but like you gave her too much time to fact check you.
Rob told her everything, which was like you tell her some things and lie about a few other things to like stir the pot. Literally, Rob told her the entire truth like upon minutes of meeting her, and yeah, you really just can't do that. Really.
Right. So it ended up being everyone voted for Rob except for Kathy, Rob, and Sean. Rob and Sean voted for John. Kathy voted for
Kathy would hurt
Zoe.
Zoe, yeah.
Yeah, and everybody else voted for Rob. And Giuseppe told in her confessional, like, look, or in her voting confessional, was like, look, I already told Rob I'm voting in his way.
She's
So
giving you pizza and beer or something like that. Like she's something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, it's
She
knew
felt
she was
bad,
doing
but
Giuseppe always knows what she's doing.
she felt bad, but she knew what she was doing, and she is also someone who could vote someone out out making you like hate them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I think she did a very good. Her jury management was very good. Very
no,
good.
yeah, it was. That ends episode 7. When we get to episode 8. So this
Yeah,
is
interesting
the
character.
episode of John. It starts off.
This
This
is one of my
man,
favorite episodes in like old school Survivor.
oh man,
I
you
love
think
this episode.
like there's literally he's like he literally took his shorts off and went under the waterfall and bathed like this in the waterfall. He's like, I'm cleansing my soul and or something crazy. And it's just like, oh my god. It's like, oh my god, what's wrong with this guy? Like he's like he's like, it's so nice having two people that want you to do well, and Pascal and Aaliyah. They're here to help me succeed in the game.
Good Lord.
Oh, this was pure Survivor gold. This whole episode. I loved that whole block of him just talking about himself, how great he is, how amazing he is.
It's so good because you just see like they just do such a good job of leading up to like what's about to happen, really.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we've really seen this happen in Survivor at this point.
Right.
Which is
so-
why one of the reasons I love this season. But yeah,
Right. Sean
Yes.
talks to Kathy and was like, hey, you know, those four are going to stick together, going to pick us all off, but we can do something about it. You meet Vesepia, Pascal, and Aaliyah. And she's like, I don't know if I can get Pascal and Aaliyah. And she mentions it.
They were all three of even Pascal and Leo, they were very skeptical at first.
Mm,
It took into something happening, which we'll talk about. So
yeah. Yeah.
so
But I didn't like how Pascal approached it. He's like, I don't want somebody like Sean winning because he's lazy. It's just like, ugh.
Fuck off, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that. Again,
Sean was
probably, yeah. It was what it is, but and then Pascal tells John about what's been approaching to them, and he's like, "Don't worry, John, I got you. Don't worry." It's
You
like,
could have just not told John at all, especially if you knew he was fine.
right.
Especially pre-hidden immunity at old days.
I do like Pascal though. Like
He's a
I don't know why. I do like him a lot.
I
He
do
reminds me a lot of Rodney from Australian Outback.
Roger.
Sorry, yes, Roger.
Rodney. That's
Rodney,
what I was
not birthday
nothing
Rodney.
like Rodney.
Not birthday Rodney. Roger, yes. He reminds me a lot of Roger from Australian Outback.
Do you guys like Rodney? Just a side note.
Yes.
Yeah.
I fucking love Rodney, but yeah,
Love Rodney.
Terrible guy. He's pretty terrible guy, but he's a great player.
Oh
great
my
TV.
god.
Such
Oh
good
my
TV.
god. I love Rodney. But anyways,
Yeah.
yeah. He's like you said, Roger from Australian Outback. Yeah, pretty.
For one, okay, let me rephrase that. I don't know what he's done after the show, but what we've seen in the show, he was a pretty bad guy. Just saying.
Rodney actually like had his like sister like commit suicide, and he does a lot of like charity work. So he's actually is a really good guy. I will say.
Well, that's cool because he was not shown that way on the show.
No, they.
I mean, that's
him,
cool.
like,
That's not cool that
no,
happened to his sister, but it's cool that
He's
he's
a
a
bad guy
straight.
show.
I agree. Yeah.
They're like shitting on somebody every show.
Yeah.
This season it was Swatty. They
Uh,
did. They clowned her with her quote at the end.
so we get to the reward challenge, and it is fly a kite.
And
Kathy
wins again. Yeah.
Yeah. And she gets to win one Snickers bar and deep sea diving in the ocean.
One fucking Snickers bar, right?
And she doesn't take any. She
They
doesn't
just
get to take
literally
anybody
gave
with
a whole
her.
cooler full, like their merge feast. They're like, we have so much food, we can't even eat all of it. And then here we are, 2 rounds to the merge, and they give them a candy bar.
Yeah, and then we have her bringing back part of the Snickers bar and
Cutting it up for
getting
everybody.
upset about it.
Sounds like I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, was it Rob that said that, right?
Yeah.
That
No,
said
no,
he
it was
wouldn't.
John.
Oh,
John
yeah.
said
Yeah.
John said he
Rob-
wouldn't have shared part of the Snickers bar because he's just trying to suck up to people. And it's like, all right, well, I don't think it's about the voting and stuff at that point. We're starving.
Everyone's hungry. Yeah.
There's more to it than just the strategy. But of course, John's such a game bot that he's always just thinking strategy the whole time, and it comes down to bite him in the ass because, I mean, you can't just be all strategy and ignore relationships, which he did, I think, at some point.
You know what I envision when I hear this John is when he was talking, he's somebody who would do his own theme song,
Yeah.
on.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I just thought it was weird that she didn't get to take nobody and anything like that. And we get to the immunity challenge, and this is where the episode starts to spice up more. It is the coconut challenge where you have to answer questions about the island.
Chops. I love the chops.
And they have to chop some coconuts from somebody. And of course, Sean's the first one gone, then Vesepia, and then Nalia, and then Pat. It's just it goes down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So this changed everything for Survivor ever because after that, if you had chops, you got to be careful with it. They made it so obvious where literally the vote was changed that night because of how the immunity challenge went, because of how the chops went. It showed there was a pecking order, and honestly, we play at orcs. You're ever in an orc where touchy subject is chops, don't just protect your alliance completely. You gotta make it random, with who you're chopping, because people are gonna catch on to shit after that. And the road to 4 with John, Tammy, Zoe, and the general just made it so obvious that they were a 4 and a final 4. So
who was it that said? Was it Rob that said if you want to pay attention who's working with who, pay attention who's sleeping next to each other at night, because you don't want to sleep next to the person that you're gonna vote out. The next night. I forget which season he said that in. Was it Heroes versus Villains?
I think
it was Heroes versus Villains.
I think so.
Yeah, look at me.
It was.
So we do get confession from Tammy, talking about the 4, and they should have a backup plan just in case someone wins immunity. But she said Sean's the target, and that's going into the immunity challenge. Tammy ends up winning the immunity, and
Tammy, who's not?
It's a big deal. And this is where Nalia goes to Pascal and goes, look, we'd be dumb to vote out Sean. If we vote out Sean, we're just gonna be fifth and sixth. And she said we worked too hard to be fifth and sixth, which she is correct. That's exactly what would have happened.
But at first, they were against it. At first, earlier in the episode, they didn't show that. It's it took till later. I don't know who, the edit. We don't really see who actually was the most convincing person there. Was it Sean? Was it V? We don't know really.
I think it was just Kathy talking to Leah and Nalia.
Kathy, yeah.
I think it was Kathy.
I think it was Kathy.
Because I don't think Sean and Vesepia would have had the poll with Pascal and Nalia to pull that off, or Vesepia who just met them, or Sean who just met them. So, I think this would have to be a Kathy move.
So that's why I think Kathy did that, and I think she's the strongest player from this season because she was realized the strategy, and she pulled off.
Her arc was really good.
This was at this point in Survivor, maybe one of the biggest blindside ever, I would say.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So
Like,
it's for sure up there. I
because
think.
Oh yeah.
like John, uh, Tammy, the general, and Zoe, they were like gonna run the game like to the final
Yeah.
four if things had gone their way. And then
Right.
this is the merge boot, it's still final nine, but like
Yeah.
things didn't go
Which
their
I
way.
do. I cannot stand when you make the merge and you don't make the jury. I feel like
Yeah.
if you make the merge, you should make the jury.
So Rob should have made the jury.
Yeah, it
but
just drives me wild. And then guess what? If you guys don't want to have somebody, then don't do one more tribe challenge.
so they didn't because like they only did final two then, so you
Yeah,
can't do it with 10. You have to do it 9. So because
yeah,
it's like there's no way to break the tie. That's pretty
right.
much why. But yeah,
But so it's
What's
the
our
votes.
first final three?
Not till is it?
season
I
12,
think it's Pearl Islands, right? Or not Pearl Islands, but Cook
Panama.
Islands.
No, Panama is what? It's Panama 2 or 3. What?
Panama was
It's
Danny
2.
and Stephanie.
No, Panama was Aris and Danielle.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah.
I think it was Cook
13. It was
Islands.
13. Yeah, it was 13. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Cook Islands with
Yep.
Ozzy and
Yeah.
that's why um Yule couldn't get rid of Ozzy because he was playing on the final 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
But you
so
also had the super idol. Like
he also has a super idol too, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I forgot that Ozzy made merge in every single game he played.
Yeah.
Ozzy, oh yeah, of course. Same thing with I think Joe, right?
Fuck Joe.
Yeah, Joe's a crazy person. John's voted out 6-3, which is weird that Zoe voted with them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that
Wait, so
was
he
about.
voted for
Yeah, Zoe voted for John.
that. I didn't even. I forgot about that. That is crazy too.
Yeah, I'm interested in
Good on
watching
her
that.
though. Good
Yeah,
on her. Old school Survivor. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what
I know
happened
she
there.
still went like very soon, but yeah.
John, Robert, and Tammy all voted for Sean. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if they're gonna explain it. Who knows? We'll see. But I think the blind side was great. John's reaction was golden. His whole build up into this episode was just amazing. It's like what you want to
Yes.
see in Survivor,
Yes.
at least once a season. If you see this once a season, it's a great moment. Now,
Yeah.
you don't need to do it every episode or every other episode, but like get this once or at least once every other season where you just have this person who just thinks to the king and you just see them fall flat on their face. It's just so good.
So we've seen that a little in modern Survivor, I think, like with pre-merge, I guess. Like I would say, like remember Brad from 41? I don't know, like
Yeah, I guess, but
an idiot. What an idiot that guy was.
he was
I
just
like Brad.
He
Brad
was
was
cool, but
Brad was a great character. Bad player.
Bad
totally,
player.
like very bad.
When he ran up that beach,
Yeah,
it was so funny. I was laughing so hard. But I
just like
definitely
another person this last season, awful player, but I think great character. Daniel, I like Daniel.
Oh yeah, Daniel was a joke.
which
He's
season?
so bad.
This season.
Oh, this season. Oh, 42, yeah. No, yeah,
42.
I love Daniel too. And I still blame it's still Chanel's fault.
Yep.
Dude, I still love that Marianne is still crushing over Zach at the first boot.
You know, Zach is like tweeting all kinds of stuff about her. It's so funny.
Oh, I love
I see
it.
that.
Dude,
He
that
says my
shit's so-
wife on stuff all the time.
my wifey.
But that covers it. I think definitely this is for sure been a better season than 3 and 2. I'm
Yeah.
still holding Borneo a little higher, but I gotta finish the season.
Ew,
So when we finish the
Borneo's
season,
good.
No, I'm team season 4 is the
Yeah.
best of the first 3.
okay.
First
But
4, I mean. Yeah.
that does it for us. We'll talk to you guys soon with Survivor 42 coming up tomorrow. So we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.